For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and community in which you now reside.
Yep, my name is Paul Daleberry III, and I live in South Wallfleet, Massachusetts.
How did you end up on Cape Cod?
I got invited down here by my father. He wanted me to go in business with him. And I went in business with him for a while in the refrigeration business.
How did you end up in the military?
I enlisted after I got out of high school.
Why the Air Force?
Well, I didn't want to be a ground pounder, and I didn't want to go on a ship. So I figured I'd take a chance, and my best friend was already in and said it wasn't too bad in the Air Force, so I figured I'd get my 4 years in and call it a day.
How did it feel to be deployed?
Believe it or not, it's a hard thing to say, but I wasn't deployed. I was on a tanker, an airplane tanker, and we were going all over the world with the bombers and stay for 90 days, but I wasn't really deployed to any permanent station except Springfield, Massachusetts. That's where my tanker outfit was out of.
Describe how it felt to return home.
Oh, it was always great to come home. There's nothing like home, believe me.
Describe the scariest moment during your service.
I could say I have a picture over here of me and the rest of my crew. And we were flying over the top of the North Pole, and we had a fire down underneath the pilot and the co-pilot. And well, you can look at it if you want. And I had to be the guy to go down and fight the fire.
How long did it take to put out the fire?
Oh, just 5 minutes. It wasn't that bad, but I made up my mind that I was going to put it out because I was not going to jump out of that plane. Not over the North Pole.
How did your parents react to you joining the military?
Well, they didn't care. They just assumed. I mean, I wasn't going to college, so I just decided that was the thing I wanted to do.
What does friendship mean in the military?
That means a lot. It really does, because that's pretty much, you don't have your parents and your brothers and sisters anymore, and all you've got is your friends in the service, and they mean a lot. They really do.
Mm-hmm. Describe a typical day in the military.
Well, it's funny. What I was in was, we used to have to fly, we fly for the day and then come back in and land. And then we would go away for 3 months or 1 month. And it changed. Every day was different, believe me. It just, I couldn't explain to you. It'd take hours to tell you what we did, believe me.
What was a typical food you ate in the military?
Pretty much what I used to have at home, except SOS. And I used to love that. You know what that is?
No.
That's shit on a shingle. You've heard of it?
I have.
What is it?
It's chipped beef on toast, cream chipped beef on toast for breakfast.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good.
Describe your most thrilling experience in the military.
Oh, jeez. Just doing what I did for what I used to do almost every day was refuel the bombers up in the air. Do you know do you know anything about that?
No.
No? No. Where's that picture, Judy? I took this picture 60 years ago. That was...
It goes the other way.
Show the camera.
Okay, you know what I was doing? I was laying on my belly and I was looking out that window with that bomber came up underneath me. And I flew that boom, and then I hooked up and I gave him jet fuel. And I'd fill him up. And every time I did it, that was an experience.
How hard was it?
It got pretty it was easy after a while. It took a lot. I had to go to school for it, and but once I learned it, and I got the same, I got put on a flight crew, and we all knew what we had to do when we took off, and it was different, but it was exciting. I enjoyed it. I really did.
If a relative of yours is going into the military, what advice would you give them?
Not go.
Why?
Well, maybe as a last resort, but go to college, and it's a lot easier once you get through college and you got a better chance of making it than just going in the service. That's my, unless you get something that you really, really like. And what I did, I loved, but they don't do it. They don't do it anywhere except in the service.
Describe the struggles you faced adjusting to civilian life upon your return.
I didn't have any struggles at all. I had a good deal, and I used to come home to my house with my wife and kids every couple of times a week, because I was only stationed in Springfield.
Mm-hmm. Describe how your life has changed since the war.
I don't even know how to. What war are we talking about? The Vietnam War?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ever get to Vietnam, but my life didn't change much. It really didn't. I wasn't in a foxhole, or I wasn't over there shooting people, so I was in a different kind of the military.
At what age did you join the military?
I was 18.
How did you, who was in charge?
Who was in charge of what?
Of, your station. Where you're stationed.
Oh, I don't know his name.
What is your view on the war after your time serving?
Well, when I first got out, I was all gung-ho for the war. And then as the years started going by, and I see the other half of it that I didn't see while I was in the service, I was kind of wondering what the hell we were doing over there.
What is your current job?
I'm retired.
What did you do after the military?
I mostly drove a truck, believe it or not.
Why did you agree to do this interview?
Because I like this boy's mother so much.
What was your daily routine?
Well, it was different. It all depends on whether we were going to go away for 90 days or whether we were going away for a week or whether we were just flying for the day, or if we weren't flying, I didn't have to do anything. I had the day off. So it was different all the time.
How do you feel about the people of the country How do you feel about the movies made about the war?
They're pretty true to what really went on over there. Most of them, they're pretty gruesome, you know.
What was your favorite military experience?
The day I got discharged,
Why is that?
because I was all done.
What is the first thing you think of when you hear the word Vietnam?
Mistake,
Why is that?
because it was.
What was boot camp like?
Oh, it was a serious awakening. That there was not. I mean, you'd have to go and see what it was like.
What did you do in your free time?
I used to come home. I used to come home to my wife and kids.
Did a lot of your friends go home?
Well, it all depends on what they did for jobs. Some of them had to work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, but mine wasn't like that.
What was your favorite aspect of your specific job?
What was my favorite aspect?
Like, what did you like the most about your job?
Oh, I loved the flying. Just liked flying.
What was the longest time you went without coming home?
3 months.
How did it feel not being home for that long?
Well, I didn't mind. We were all over the place. We were all over the world.
What was it like to get your uniform?
I don't even know what to say to that. What was it like to get my uniform?
What was your proudest moment?
Oh, well, I think that. Yeah, no, not that. The other one there. When we had the fire in the hellhole going over the North Pole.
What is one word you would use to describe your service?
You got any easy ones?
Was there anyone in particular you had a strong bond with?
Not really. Not really.
Who else were you stationed with? Like, no, that's... Were you stationed anywhere else but Springfield?
No, but I wasn't there very often.
Were your living conditions good?
Yeah. We had 2 men to a room in a 5-tier barracks. Yeah, they were nice rooms.
How did you communicate with like friends and family while you were in Springfield?
By telephone, I think. That's about all we had back then.
If you didn't go into service, what would your profession have been?
Probably driving a truck, I guess.
What was your least favorite part of your job?
Oh, I can't think of any right now. I can't.
If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I don't know. I'd go back in a minute, but I really liked what I did.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Millis, Mass, if you know where that is.
No.
It's up near Framingham and Natick Way.
What was your childhood like?
Oh, it was average. I got along with the kids.
When you were growing up, what did you want to be?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know.
If you had a choice of what branch of military to go into today, which one would you choose?
I go in the Air Force.
What do you miss about life back then when you were serving?
My SOS in the morning.
Do you have any big health scares during your service?
No. Getting pretty personal now, aren't they?
What experience from your service affects you the most today?
I get up every morning and salute Judy. No, just kidding. I have a sense of humor sometimes, don't I, Judy? Yeah.
What is one word you would use to describe your service?
Well, it was eventful.
Why was that?
Well, I loved flying, and I did a lot of it.
How is life in the military different from civilian life?
Well, it wasn't very much different for me because I used to do stuff that none of the other enlisted men did. I used to have to be with the officers all the time. when we'd go on alert in different places. We'd go on alert in Alaska or Thule, Greenland, or just all over the world. And I used to have to be with the officers, and the officers got treated a lot nicer than the enlisted men. So I was pretty fortunate.
Did you ever think about becoming an officer?
No, you had to go to college for that, and I didn't have the college.
Where was the farthest place you flew during your time?
Oh my God, I just flew all over the world. We used to, every 90 days, we used to have to fly to Greenland and stay up there for 2 weeks, and then come home.
Did you like doing that?
Nah. Yeah, it was different. We used to be able to bring home 7 cartons of cigarettes, but I didn't smoke, and 3-gallon jugs of whiskey. And the cigarettes were $1 a carton, and the booze was $3 a bottle, because there was no duty up there. So I used to come home and bring them home to the guys.
How did you feel being away from your family?
Well, I kind of felt sorry for my wife with the 3 kids at home, and she was taking care of them herself. But I had to get the rest of the 4 years out of the way.
At any time, did you regret going into the military?
Oh, not really. No, not really.
What did you think about your higher authority?
I thought different things at different times. That was just part of the military. You got to deal with the authority.
Was it ever fun?
It was enjoyable at times.
Why was that?
Well, we were always doing something different. I'll tell you a little funny story that we made crew of the month because we fought that fire and saved the airplane in our butts too. And they gave us, we made crew of the month for it. Well, this other tanker came up from Bermuda, and it flew up and it landed up in Westover Field, and it broke down. And so the crew went back, and the plane was sitting up there, and the plane was always having problems. They said it having problems. So they decided they were going to send it to the boneyard down in Oklahoma. So our crew, we got the chance to take that thing and fly it down to Oklahoma to the boneyard. And we flew it down there, and then we got on a regular, not a military plane, but a regular airline, and came home. And when we were coming home, when we were getting on the airplane, we all had our parachutes with us, because we had to have them when we went down. In the military, you always carried your parachute with you. And when we got on the plane, a lot of the other people on the plane were saying, "Where's my parachute?" And so we had to give them up, and they had to put them down underneath in the luggage areas, because we didn't really want them down there. But they said they wouldn't let us fly on the airplane if we didn't give up our parachutes. So that was a interesting time.
What was the most challenging aspect of your occupation?
Oh, just doing what I did, having a B-52 come up 100 feet behind you, 20,000 feet in the air, and refueling it. I mean, not everybody could do that, I don't think.
How often did you do that?
Well, we used to do it once or twice a week. And then just for practice, you know what I mean? Practice.
Mm-hmm.
We always practice in a time of war. You know, I mean, it's funny. We were on alert with the bombers over in Spain in 1962, and we were all playing volleyball, and the klaxon horn went off. We all had to run over into the car, the 5 of us, and go out and get the engines running, and get in the plane and go out on the end of the runway. And we'd always go down the end of the runway, and the bombers would go first, and then we'd go behind them. And then we'd all taxi down the runway all the way down to the end, and come back and park and hook everything all up the way we were supposed to. But this day, the klaxon went off, and it was hot in hell. We got in the airplanes, and we went down to the end of the runway, and we sat there. And we sat there and sat there and sat there. And in those days, the airplanes didn't have air conditioning, only when they got up in the air. So it got so damn hot in that plane. But we're saying, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? And what went on was Kennedy got assassinated. And all the big deals thought that the Russians did it, and that we were going to go to war with the Russians. And we were down the end of the runway waiting for an hour and a half. And we were wondering whether we were going to go to war. That was a very moving experience, I thought, for us.
How did everyone else react to that?
Oh, we were all kind of pooping our pants.
How did you feel when you heard that Kennedy got assassinated?
Oh, we couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. You know, he was our boss, really. And everybody liked him, you know. It's too bad. It shocked everybody.
Why did everyone think that the Russians assassinated him?
Well, it wasn't everybody. It was the heads of the services and the vice president and, you know, the secretary of war, and they all didn't want to take the chance of letting them off. You know what I mean? Right? Because back then. That's all we did was go after. We were afraid of the Russians, and they were afraid of us. It was us and the Russians. That was the only two that were in the game.
Who was the leader of the Russians back then?
It was the guy that had the red birthmark on his. Remember him? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember his name, but I do remember. He was a bad dude.
Who was the vice president at the time that took over for president?
It was Johnson, yeah.
Did people like him?
No, not as much as, nowhere near as much as Kennedy.
Why was that?
Well, Johnson was from Texas, and he didn't have the same outlook on the the black people is for that's just one thing, you know, and they just, I don't know, they just didn't care for him that much, but he became our president. I think he was just, I don't know whether he got elected. You want to shut that off?
No, you can keep going.
Oh no, that's all right. I get off on.
Well, we thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.